Good morning, everybody. This is Native Honey. Okay, first, I'd like to apologize so much for not posting any links in the description, but YouTube is not giving me that option at all. They're messing with my views, my likes, who knows what else. But that's okay. I'm still going to do my part and expose. I'm not afraid at all, because I have Jesus Christ protecting me. You know how I know? Because God shows me in my dreams, and throughout the day, I am constantly feeling this. Come on, I'm right behind you. Let others know, now. I'll protect you. That type of feeling. It reminds me of the story of Gideon in the Bible, Judges 6:12. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." I love that. God sees us not as we are, but as what we can become. With all my faults and failures, he'll say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." So that's how I can sit here and do what I'm doing. I started this YouTube channel just for that. So some may think I'm insane, but that doesn't matter at all. And I strongly encourage you people to do the same. You need to wake up and start spreading the message. This is no joke, okay? I'm sick and tired of all this sugarcoating going on. I can't do that no more. It's not cool. At the end of the clip, I have another message I'd like to share.
It was my husband's department. I was a problem. What do we do with her?
This little boy is called Philip. His full name is Philip Schleswig-Holstein Sonderburg Glucksberg, and he grew up in Germany. He was raised amongst his Nazi in-laws, some of whom later became high-ranking members of the SS. His Nazi relatives then sent him to this school in southern Germany, where he studied for a while under the Nazi curriculum. Philip later recalled that there was much heel-clicking and shouts of Heil Hitler were compulsory. And here's Philip in Darmstadt, in the heart of Germany, in November 1937, attending a family funeral for some of his Nazi in-laws. Marching in front of a Sieg-Heiling crowd, this is Philip, next to Christoph, his SS brother-in-law, and Philip, his Nazi stormtrooper brother-in-law. Imagine if a man with a past like this had somehow ended up marrying into British aristocracy. Well, he did. And as we know, he got first prize. He became the Duke of Edinburgh, also known as Prince Philip, after marrying Princess Elizabeth, the future Queen of England. Philip buried his Nazi past and became a respectable member of British royalty. And his story has continued happily ever after. Apart from a few family troubles that were quickly resolved. In the years before Princess Diana was killed, she told many people that the British establishment was planning to eliminate her.
Oh, of course Diana was bumped off. She knew she was going to be bumped off. But she always said she's not going to make old bones.
Diana had left a note saying that she thought that somebody was going to kill her and that it would be in a car accident.
When a woman left a note saying, FYI, if I'm dead, here's how it happened, and then it happens exactly like that, I think someone should pay attention.
What if this woman's name had been Diana Smith, and she'd written in a note which had been subsequently unveiled, "My husband Charles Smith wants me to die in a car accident," and subsequently she did. In any other family or in any other country, surely Charles Smith would have been called to the witness stand at the inquest into his wife's death.
This is a special broadcast. My name is Chris Everard. You may know me from my FM radio broadcasts in the USA. You may know me from presenting documentaries on British television. In just a few days, we will face the EU referendum in Britain. The only reason that this referendum even is taking place is because one man, Nigel Farage, has been campaigning for 25 years, chipping away at the coalface of politics to actually show people that the EU, the European Union, the European Superstate Parliament is actually a long-term plan to actually take over and dominate the ancient nations, the ancient people, and the ancient economies of Europe.
Für die EFDD-Fraktion hat jetzt das Wort Herr Farage.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everybody. If this is European democracy in action, as we've heard this morning, I suggest we have a rethink. We're told that as a result of the European elections, Mr. Juncker here is the nominee. Well, I can tell you that absolutely nobody in the United Kingdom knew that when they voted in the European election, it had anything to do with the next nominee. And the truth of it is, your voters, actually in your countries, didn't realise what this process was. Mr. Juncker's name did not appear on any single ballot paper. And the whole thing has been the most extraordinary stitch-up. I mean, the loser, Mr. Schulz, gets the consolation prize of being an unprecedented second-term president in the Parliament. I mean, it's all just a pretense that we're increasing democracy. Now, of course, I'll be told, yeah, but hang on a second. The European Parliament, the elected bit of the European institution, did actually have a say and did decide whether Mr. Juncker was to become Commission President or not. Well, let's just have a think about the process we're about to engage in. We've all got to be asked to vote, and we've got one candidate to vote for. I mean, it's like good old Soviet times, isn't it? Surely democracy means you get rather more of a choice than one. But I think far worse than that, it is going to be a secret ballot. I mean, you really couldn't invent it, could you? Hard on the heels of a European election, our voters are not going to know how any of us have voted. And I would say to you, Mr. Schulz, as President of the Parliament shouldn't vote in secret. The whole point of being publicly elected representatives is we should be held accountable for our actions to our own voters and to be asked to vote in secret.
For more than 100 years, European people have been lied to. British people have been lied to. Italian people have been lied to. There were two great wars in the 20th century, separated by a period of only 19 years. More than 45 million people were essentially murdered, but it's taken us a long time to see who really controlled Adolf Hitler. It was a British prince. He was called Karl Edward, the Duke of Saxony, who attended Eton and was brought up using British taxpayers' expense. Living as a British prince, he was Queen Victoria's favourite grandson. Yes, he was British. He was a member of the Order of the Garter. He was at the top of the British royal family. When he was 17 years old, Prince Karl Edward was sent to Germany to begin a plan which was to crush and dominate the ancient nations of Europe. Buckingham Palace's plan has not changed. They send him away. He arrived in Germany and took control over massive agricultural farming estates which were owned by Queen Victoria and her husband. This man, this British prince, then engineered the First World War. But these wars, the First World War and the Second World War, were not wars between Germany and the Allied powers of Europe. They were wars of the super rich against the poor. in many cities of Europe. It was the poor slum areas, such as the East End of London, that were bombed. Kensington, Belgravia, the rich palaces were never touched by any bombs. After 45 million people had been murdered in these two world wars, the Nazis took off their Hugo Boss uniforms and put on their Hugo Boss business suits. Many of the former Third Reich Nazis then started the economic war on the people of Europe.
There wasn't any shooting, but this ordinary shopping street has been the scene of a revolution, a social revolution caused by the war, which has changed the buying habits, and therefore the living habits, of the British people as drastically as bombs changed their towns. Pre-war, Great Britain imported 2/3 of the food it ate, and it ate pretty well. Mrs. Bill Green, an average British housewife, filled her market basket with her choice of foods brought from all over the world. She bought as much as she wanted, of anything she could afford. But on that old system, the British could never have survived the war, so they cut down their food imports by half. They rationed all basic foods except bread and vegetables. They controlled prices strictly. 2 pounds of sugar, half a pound each week for everyone, half a pound of tea, 2 ounces each, half a pound of butter, half a pound of lard, and a pound of margarine. That is, 2 pounds of fats for the Green family, 3 ounces of cheese for each person, for cheese is an excellent meat substitute, a box of dried eggs from the United States. When Mrs. Green has collected all her groceries, she has to start thinking about the meat ration. Meat is rationed by value, 23 cents worth for everybody each week.
This economic war has caused massive recessions, massive strife, people having their homes repossessed, the oligarchy, the ruling super rich elite, and yes, they are the royals of Buckingham Palace, have been engineering a scam. And this scam is now only being recognized and exposed.
She puts on the great golden mantle, the imperial robe.
Receive this imperial robe. The Lord your God endue you with knowledge and wisdom, with majesty and with power from on high.
Not a word has been said by any member of the British royal family about the sovereignty and the democratic rights of British people being handed over to faceless Eurocrats in Brussels and Strasbourg. The reason that there is no criticism of the undemocratic, unelected EU commissioners dictating laws to British people is because these faceless Eurocrats who earn bigger salaries than Barack Obama are ultimately under the control of Buckingham Palace. It is the British royals who have their roots in Nazi Germany. We all remember the Queen's mother, who was universally loved by the British people. But what about the mother of the Duke of Edinburgh? Who is his mother? Who is his father? Where are his brothers? Where are his sisters? We know virtually nothing about this man. The reason is this. his family have been airbrushed out of British history books. His sisters married senior Nazi officers. They were not ordinary Nazi officers, they were the SS, the killing machine that was managing the destruction of all European nations. The Nazis had two wars. The first was a military war, and that was designed to actually kill as many poor, impoverished families as possible, and to bomb the poor areas of London, and to take over those areas and redevelop them. The Second War was an economic war. It was designed to take the colonies of Portugal and Spain in Latin America, the colonies of Africa controlled by the Netherlands and Belgium, and amalgamate the gold, the diamonds, the oil that was being taken from these poorer third world nations, and put them all into one single financial system, which is what we have today. We call that system the Euro, and that is managed by the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the European Central Bank. In effect, these are the same institution. It is the same as the European Union superstate. The euro caused massive hardship and strife. In just the last 12 years, the euro currency has crashed and risen and crashed and risen and crashed and risen. We have seen massive bankruptcies, and this was all planned. Overnight, people in European nations woke up, looked at their bank accounts and discovered that all of their life savings had been converted from their normal currencies into the euro. Within 6 months of the euro being introduced, there were massive price increases all over Europe. A loaf of bread 12 years ago in France used to cost the equivalent of 22 pence. It now costs more than £1 in city bakeries. This is the European superstate. It is a financial, economic oligarchy. It is a dictatorship where unelected EU commissioners sit making laws, and every single one of these European laws cannot be repealed. Once a law has been created by the EU superstate, that law cannot be repealed, it cannot be revoked. I am urging everyone in Britain to do the same as what the Catalonians in the north of Spain have done, to do the same as what the Greeks have done, to do the same as what the Italians done yesterday, and that is to throw away this oligarchy. People power is on the move. We now have a political party called the Five-Star Truth Movement Party, started by a comedian in Italy, and has grown a political party which now controls great Italian cities and nearly 1/3 of the seats in the Italian parliament.
Noi siamo in mano a delle cose che non pensiamo neanche che esistano, Fondo Monetario, Banca Mondiale, gente che deciderà 10.000 chilometri che cazzo di acqua dovremo bere noi nel prossimo decennio. Non sapremo mai chi sono, perché noi pensiamo che siano questi, ma i poteri si stanno svegliando. Siamo al grande passaggio, ci siamo. Alla fine del secondo millennio, entrando nel terzo, il drago, i 4 cavalieri dell'Apocalisse, voi non li riconoscete neanche. Sai chi sono? Dimmi la verità. No, non li abbiamo neanche mai visti. Eppure guardateli bene, sono 4 banchieri. Una volta c'erano i gangster, Oggi ci sono i bankster. Il primo sulla destra, guardiamo le facce, torniamo agli istinti. Guardate la faccia, Greenspan, presidente della Federal Reserve americana. Greenspan, guardatelo, è un uomo quello lì, o un cane da slitta. È un cane quello lì. Solo che la differenza tra un cane e un banchiere è che se al cane tiri qualcosa te la riporta indietro. Il banchiere col cazzo che ti riporta indietro qualcosa. Vai avanti.
Iceland has thrown away its old banking regulators. When one of the senior politicians in Iceland was discovered hiding money in tax havens during the publication of the so-called Panama Papers, that politician was thrown out onto the streets.
What do you personally think about people and companies that are using, well, tax havens for hiding assets, for example? So when somebody is cheating the rest of society, it is taken very seriously. So we want to show that we are leaving no stone unturned. People can rest assured that the government is doing what it can to look into any misconduct.
Egentlig har journalisten bedt om et intervju fordi han har fått tilgang til lekkede dokumenter. Dokumenter som viser at statsministerens familie også var blant kreditorene i de fallerte bankene. Det via et selskap i et skatteparadis. Det har aldri før vært kjent.
What about yourself, Mr. Prime Minister? Have you or did you have any connections yourself to an offshore company?
Myself? No. Well,
I've been broadcasting the truth about Europe and the truth about the financiers of the Third Reich for many years. I love Europe. I love European nations. I love traveling in Europe. But I want to tell you all now that the EU Parliament is a farce. It is full of corrupt people. They are spending $50 million a day on limos, private jets, office expenses, expensive lunches, expensive dinners, champagne, wine, $50 million a day. Every day, the EU Parliament spends 391 million euros. That's more than $450 million every day. The fisheries industry of Britain has been destroyed. The steel workers could have had their jobs saved with an injection, an investment of no more than about £12 billion. The EU hate Britain because the EU was designed by former Nazis. Please, take back power. We must crush the EU superstate before they crush us.
Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God, praying always in the Spirit with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people.